Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I've been sitting on this story for a long time, unsure if I should ever post it, but here goes. I never thought I'd be that guy posting in a relationship advice sub, but life has a way of gut-punching you when you least expect it. My wife, Valentina, grew up in a tiny rural village. Like, shared goats with the neighbors tiny. She used to tell me stories about lying on her back in the grass, looking up at the sky and dreaming of flying. Her dad was a tractor driver, and apparently, he used to let her mess around with the engine when it stalled. That's how she fell in love with machines. With the sky. With the idea of getting as far away from dirt roads and cornfields as possible. And honestly, that's what I loved about her. We met at university. She was the cool girl in aerospace engineering with the sharp tongue and sharper cheekbones. I was the quieter one studying mechanical engineering, sitting a few rows behind her in thermodynamics. She didn't notice me until the group project happened. She was confident, ambitious, magnetic, and somehow, I caught her attention. We started dating, and it felt like being strapped to a rocket. Late-night ramen, library cramming sessions, whispered dreams about space. She told me she wanted to be an astronaut. I believed her. I wanted her to get there. Fast forward 5 years, we got married. She wore white, but not the traditional kind. She had a silver sash, said it felt more cosmic. That should have been my first clue. Things started to shift 2 years into the marriage. At first, it was subtle. She became more critical. "Why don't you do something meaningful with your work?" she asked once, after I told her about a small success at my job designing HVAC systems. It stung, but I brushed it off. I figured she was just stressed. She was applying for a spaceflight trainee program in Europe at the time. Super competitive, ultra demanding. But then came the lies. Small at first. "I'm working late. Just a last-minute study group. We're testing simulations." She'd come home smelling like cheap cologne and Red Bull. I didn't say anything. I wanted to trust her. After all, she was chasing her dream, right? I just didn't know she was also chasing someone else's lap. I'll leave it there for now. Next part, I'll tell you how I found out. And trust me, it wasn't what you'd expect, right? Things had started to feel off. You know that gut feeling? The one that scratches at your ribs, whispers that something isn't right, even when your brain tells you you're being paranoid. Yeah, that was me. For months, I started noticing weird inconsistencies. Valentina said she was working with a European mentor on her astronaut application, but she never showed me any emails. When I offered to help proofread her essays, I'm pretty good with grammar, she brushed me off. Said I wouldn't understand the technical parts. Okay, fine. Then I noticed she'd changed her phone password. Again, I told myself not to overreact. Couples deserve privacy. Maybe I was just insecure. Maybe I was projecting. But deep down, I felt like I was slowly being rotated out of her orbit. Then came the journal. One day, she left for a weekend space simulation retreat with her cohort. A bunch of them went to some cabin for survival training and psychological testing. At least, that's what she told me. While she was gone, I did laundry. Harmless, right? Her notebook fell out of her duffel bag when I was grabbing clothes. It had a little NASA sticker on the front, so I figured it was technical notes. But it flipped open when it hit the floor. And it wasn't full of equations. It was full of letters. Love letters. Pages and pages of handwritten messages. To someone named Leo. At first, I froze. Just stood there, dumbly staring at the name. Leo. Who the hell was Leo? I read more. She wrote about how he understood her dreams, how being around him made her feel alive again, how I was content with mediocrity. She called me dull. Said I was too earthbound. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely hold the journal. I didn't even know what emotion I felt first. Anger, embarrassment, betrayal, maybe all three. But I do remember one sentence very clearly. He says I was born for more. That I'm wasting away pretending to love a man who's happy fixing air ducts. That one hit like a freight train. That was when I knew. It wasn't just emotional. It wasn't just some harmless flirtation. This was deep. She'd been gone for a long time. I just didn't want to see it. I closed the notebook, sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time in years, I cried like a child. The kind of cry that turns into a quiet, hollow silence after it's done. Yeah, I know. Not very manly, or whatever. But you hit a wall like that, and it doesn't matter how many wrenches you've turned or how many times you've kept your cool. That kind of betrayal? It cuts clean. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed more than just words in a journal. I needed the truth to slap her in the face. So I made a plan. So I had the journal. I had the gut-wrenching proof that my wife was in love with someone else. And worse, ashamed of me. But instead of blowing up right then and there, I did something I didn't know I was capable of. I waited. Call it cowardice or strategy, but I needed more. I needed to know just how far gone she was before I made any decisions. So I played it cool when she came back from her so-called retreat. She came in, smelling like cheap campfire smoke and hotel soap. Hair damp, smile fake. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. I asked her how it went. She said, exhausting. We did simulated parachute drops and water survival. No time to even think straight. That's interesting. Considering her journal said she spent the weekend in a hot tub with Leo drinking white wine and talking about their shared destiny. So I started gathering info. First, I went through our shared iCloud. She'd logged out on her phone, but forgot to on the iPad I almost never used. Rookie move. I found the photos. Dozens of them. Not explicit, but intimate. Valentina and Leo at some observatory, her sitting on his lap in a telescope dome, arms around each other. Her in a hoodie I'd never seen before, one that said ESA Training Cohort 12. Must have been his. I screenshotted everything. Then came the messages, buried deep in her archived email folders. Apparently, she and Leo had been planning to apply for a joint fellowship in Germany. Together. Like, move in together, train together, even build a life together. She hadn't just been unfaithful. She'd been building a future with him while I paid the mortgage and made sure her car's oil was changed. She told him she was only staying with me until the selection process was over, that she owed it to me to at least pretend until she got out. Like I was some transitional stage between her village life and her life in orbit. Yeah, that was the moment I stopped being sad. I got angry, not the throwing plates kind. A deeper, colder kind. The kind that makes you plan. I didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't tell her what I knew. Instead, I bought a burner phone, started transferring the evidence to a private drive, and began tracking where she went at night. I installed a GPS tracker under her car. I know, ethically murky, maybe even illegal. But I needed to see how far down this rabbit hole she was. 2 days later, she said she was attending a networking dinner with aerospace investors. She went to a 3-star hotel, room 408. I waited in the parking lot and saw her go in arm with a tall guy in a Navy ESA jacket. Guess what his name tag said? Yup, Leo. I didn't go in. Not then. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a scene. Instead, I waited. I watched. I let the weight of everything settle on me like space dust on a forgotten satellite. That was the night I decided to end the marriage. But not quietly. All right, Reddit, buckle up. This is where things stop being, maybe it's just emotional cheating, and go full-on betrayal soap opera. After seeing her waltz into that hotel with Leo like I didn't exist, I sat in my car for 2 hours. Not crying. Not panicking. Just cold. Focused. I realized something then. Valentina didn't just cheat on me. She used me. I'd been footing the bills, proofreading her statements when she'd let me, supporting her while she reached for the stars, and the whole time, I was just her launch pad, her safety net, her placeholder. So I decided, if she wanted to live like I was invisible, fine. I'd become invisible, while pulling every string I could to make sure she felt it when I cut the cord. Step 1. Secure myself financially. I quietly opened a new checking account, moved half our joint savings, legally mine, and redirected my paycheck. I also started scanning and copying important documents, marriage certificate, tax records, loan agreements, her student loan details. She conveniently forgot to mention she deferred repayment. Step 2. Talk to a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A bulldog divorce attorney a friend recommended after his cheating ex-wife tried to take half his company. The guy was stone cold. I showed him the screenshots, the GPS logs, even a copy of the love letters. He nodded like this was just another Tuesday. Said, "You've already done half my job for me." Step 3. Play dumb. Oh, this part was hard. Every time she came home smelling like Leo's cologne, or smiled at her phone like she was in a Nicholas Sparks movie, I had to pretend I didn't know. I made her coffee in the mornings. I asked about her day. I even liked the fake inspirational posts she made about perseverance and dreams on Instagram. Barf. Then came the worst night. She came home tipsy. Said she and her female colleagues had drinks after work. She smelled like whiskey and cheap cologne again. And then, brace yourself, she tried to initiate sex. I couldn't do it. I couldn't even look at her. I faked a migraine and went to the couch. And she laughed, said, "God, you're such an old man." That was the last straw emotionally. My heart didn't just break, it shut down. Step 4, the bait. I decided I'd give her one final test. One last thread to see if she'd tell the truth before I blew it all up. I told her I got a job offer. A really good one. Overseas. Japan. Not true. I said it was a dream opportunity and I wanted us to go, just to see how she'd respond. Her face did this weird flicker, like her brain was trying to smile, but her heart didn't get the memo. She said, "That's amazing. I'll think about it." Wow. Japan. The next morning, I checked her email. She wrote to Leo. "He's talking about moving. I think he suspects something. Might have to fast-track our plans." That was it. That was the rocket burn I needed. All right, folks. Now it was go time. I had the emails, the pictures, the journal, the GPS logs, and a clear-as-day message from my wife to her side astronaut that she was planning to ditch me as soon as it was convenient. I was done playing dumb. Done being the quiet, supportive husband she used as a launch pad while she floated off into her fantasy world with Leo. So I set a date. I marked it on my calendar in bold red. D-Day, Friday, 7 p.m. I was going to confront her. But not just with words. No, I had something better in mind. I invited 2 close friends over for dinner, Chris and Liana. They've known us both since university. The kind of friends who would never believe Valentina was capable of cheating unless they saw it with their own eyes. She'd always been so polished, so ambitious, so driven. Liana used to say, "Valentina makes you feel like you're going somewhere just standing next to her." Yeah, turns out that somewhere was a hotel suite with another man. Anyway, I played it cool all week. Set the table. Made homemade lasagna. Got a bottle of her favorite wine, White Rioja. I even cleaned the house, because why not go out with a bang? Valentina came home in her usual dramatic fashion, tossed her keys on the counter, made a snide comment about how I still fold laundry like a bachelor, and looked annoyed that I'd invited guests without consulting her. I smiled and said, "Oh, you'll want to be here for this. It's a celebration." She raised an eyebrow. I could see the calculation behind her eyes. But she stayed. Because Valentina never missed a chance to be the center of attention. Chris and Liana showed up at 6:45. We ate. Laughed. It was weirdly normal. She performed perfectly, like nothing was wrong. She even bragged about how she was shortlisted for a special program in Germany. The one she was applying to with Leo, of course. Then, at exactly 7 p.m., I pulled out a little envelope and set it in the middle of the table. "What's this?" she asked, picking it up. I smiled. "Open it." Inside were 2 photos. Her sitting on Leo's lap at the observatory. A screenshot of the email. Might have to fast-track our plans. She froze. I could hear Chris's fork drop. "What the hell is this?" Liana asked. Valentina's face turned to stone. "This is taken out of context." I laughed. Out of context? Was that her plan? To gaslight us all into believing those were friendship cuddles? I looked her in the eyes and said, "I know everything, Val. The hotel, the emails, the journal. I even know about the fellowship you're applying for with Leo." She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. The silence was beautiful, terrifying, long. Then came the yelling. Not from me, from her. She snapped, started calling me pathetic, said I was jealous of her success, that I was insecure because she wanted more from life. Chris tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. She screamed, "I'm meant for space, not for a man who's scared to leave the damn ground." I just stood up, walked to the hallway, and came back with a manila envelope. "Divorce papers," I said. "Already signed my half. You're free now." She looked like someone had unplugged her. No more yelling. Just static. Liana whispered, "Jesus, Val." And that was it. I packed a bag and left that night. Checked into a cheap hotel. Cried like hell. Not because I missed her, but because it finally ended. The lie. The pretending. The years I spent orbiting her while she looked past me, chasing stars. So I thought that was it. I thought handing her those divorce papers would be the final act. The rocket launch, the end of the countdown, the Godspeed, and all that poetic closure crap. But no. Valentina wasn't done. And neither was Leo. You know how some people cheat, and then quietly disappear out of guilt or shame. Yeah, that's not Valentina. That woman went full PR campaign mode. Within 48 hours of me leaving, she had already posted a carefully curated Instagram story that started with, "Sometimes, in relationships, we grow in different directions." Oh, but it got worse. She implied I had been emotionally distant, unmotivated, and unsupportive of her dream. She ended the story with a quote, "Some people are born to reach the stars. Others are content watching from the ground." I was tagged. That's right, tagged. I didn't say anything. I didn't respond online. But our mutual friends saw it, and a few actually believed her. I got DMs like, "Bro, what happened? I thought you two were solid." And, "She's saying you gave up on her." Yeah, gave up on a woman who was literally sneaking off to cuddle in hotel rooms with another man while calling me dead weight. But I bit my tongue. Let her keep orbiting her lie. I had other things to worry about. Like Leo. Because apparently, he wasn't thrilled when he found out I'd exposed everything. Turns out, Leo has a wife. Yup, that's right. Married. 2 kids. Suburban life. The whole Space Dad starter pack. I didn't find out from Valentina, obviously. I found out because his wife emailed me after she saw the photos I'd posted, privately, to close friends on Facebook. She wrote, "Thank you. I had no idea. I guess both of our lives just exploded." We ended up talking on the phone for over an hour. Her name's Eva. Sweet woman. Crushed. She'd known Leo was ambitious, but not slimy. She said, "He told me she was just a colleague. They were working on a project together." Sure they were. Here's where it gets unhinged. Leo showed up at my workplace. Like, physically showed up at the HVAC firm where I do engineering design. Wearing a blazer, like he was walking into some TED Talk. My receptionist buzzed me, totally confused. I went out into the lobby, and there he was. Tall, smug, and apparently out of his damn mind. "You think this is over?" he said. I stared at him. "I think it wasn't your marriage to destroy, but here we are." He actually tried to blame me for ruining his career. Said if the European Space Agency got wind of the scandal, he'd be blacklisted. That he'd worked too hard to let it all go to hell over a jealous loser with a grudge. I laughed in his face. Literally. Right in the lobby. "You cheated on your wife and blew up 2 marriages. That's on you, Captain Astronaut." Security escorted him out after that. My boss, thankfully, had my back. Even gave me a week off, paid, because he saw how shaken I was. Not from fear, from rage. That moment was when I realized something. Valentina and Leo weren't in love. They were in fantasy. They were just 2 delusional egos in flight suits, pretending the world revolved around them while crashing everyone else's lives like space debris. And I was finally out of their orbit. Okay, so after Leo's insane pop-in at my job and Valentina's space-themed smear campaign, I thought, all right, this has to be the peak of the drama. Nope. Valentina had one more card up her silver sash. And this one? It was desperate, unhinged, and honestly kind of pathetic. It started with a text, 3 days after the lobby showdown. From Valentina. "Can we talk? Please. Just one conversation." I didn't respond. Then came the email. Subject, closure. "I think we owe it to each other to talk things through maturely. You were a huge part of my life. Things got complicated. I'm not proud of how I handled it. But you don't have the full story. I think if we could just meet, I could explain, and maybe we could find peace. Peace. Lady, you left love notes for your side guy in a journal with a NASA sticker on it like a damn space camp middle schooler, and had the audacity to post breakup quotes about growing apart after I caught you playing astronaut groupie. Peace was off the table. But still, curiosity is a hell of a thing. So I didn't respond directly, but I asked Liana what she thought. Liana, bless her blunt heart, said, "If you go see her, I'm personally staging an intervention with boxed wine and duct tape." Fair enough. Then the weird part happened. That same day, I got a Facebook friend request from my ex. Let me explain. Before Valentina, there was Harper. We dated in college. Nothing too dramatic. She was calm, funny, smart in a grounded way. She wanted to be a teacher. We broke up mutually because I got into engineering and she took a teaching job in a different state. It was one of those clean breaks you don't expect to think about again. Until now. She messaged me. "Hey, I heard about what happened. I don't mean to be weird. I saw Valentina's post, and it felt wrong. I just wanted to say, I remember you being better than that. Just in case you needed to hear it. Y'all." That message hit me. I told her thanks. We messaged a little back and forth. Nothing crazy, but something in me breathed again. Meanwhile, Valentina escalated. She sent flowers. To my job. A cheesy card attached. Still reaching for the stars. I hope you do too. I gave them to the receptionist. Later that night, I blocked her number, email, and all socials. Cold turkey. For the first time, I didn't want closure. I didn't need an explanation from her. I had survived the blast radius. That was enough. But don't worry, her chaos? Still not done. You're going to love what she did next. So, I thought blocking her would be the final nail. Cut off communication? Check. Remove her ability to worm back in? Check. Reclaim my peace? Sort of check. But Valentina, oh no, she wasn't done. A week later, I went with my nephew to a small regional air show, something we did together every year since he was 5. He loves planes. I love the smell of jet fuel and nostalgia. It's our thing. No drama. Just noise, fried food, and overpriced souvenir hats. The last person I expected to see walking toward the VIP tent, wearing tight jeans, red lipstick, and that I'm on a mission look, was Valentina. I froze. She spotted me, smiled, walked over like we were old friends meeting for coffee. My nephew, poor kid, looked up at her and whispered, "Is that the mean lady?" He had overheard a lot more than I thought during the fights. "Oof," she said. "Can we talk?" "Just a few minutes." I didn't respond, just stared at her like she was a plane flying way off course. Then she said it, the thing that made my jaw literally drop. I turned down the program in Germany. I realized I was chasing the wrong thing. Oh, okay. So now, after all the lies, all the hotel rooms, all the Rocket Man love letters, now she has regrets? She continued, "Leo's not who I thought he was. It was all built on adrenaline. You and I, we had something real." I actually laughed. Out loud. In her face. In front of AC-130 and 2 stunned Air Force recruiters. "You had something real," I said. "And you threw it out the airlock because it wasn't shiny enough." Her smile faltered. I told her this wasn't the time or place. She tried to argue. My nephew tugged my sleeve, clearly uncomfortable. So I leaned in and said quietly but firmly, "You don't get to rewrite the ending now. You left me in the dust when I needed you most. Go chase your stars. But don't expect me to be your safety net when they burn out." She stood there, stunned. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. I walked away. My nephew said, "She's weird." I said, "Buddy, she's from another planet." And just when I thought I could finally close the book on her, a week later, I got a letter. A physical letter. Like, handwritten. On real stationery. No return address. Just my name in cursive and a wax seal like she was cosplaying some Victorian astronaut widow. Inside, a list. A literal list of things she missed about me. The way you made midnight pancakes after bad days. The smell of your skin when you worked on the car. How safe I felt falling asleep next to you, even when I didn't deserve to. There was also a photo, one of us at a graduation party 5 years ago, her sitting in my lap, both of us laughing. And one final sentence. "If you ever look up and feel lost, I'm still out there." Read it. I didn't feel moved. I didn't feel touched. I felt embarrassed for her. And finally free. Because now I understood something critical. She didn't love me. She loved how I made her feel. Secure. Grounded. Useful. Like her little launch pad, holding steady while she took off. But once she was in orbit, she didn't care if I crumbled. And now that her spaceship malfunctioned, she wanted to come crawling back to the launch site she torched. Not a chance. All right, buckle up. Because if you thought Valentina showing up at an airshow was wild, wait until you hear how she tried to emotionally engineer the divorce process like it was a personal mission to Mars. Once I officially filed, she suddenly went from, "You're dead weight," to "We should do this amicably." Her first email, through her lawyer. Valentina wishes for a respectful and peaceful resolution, without assigning blame. No blame. She literally left a breadcrumb trail of betrayal from our bedroom to a 3-star hotel. But okay, sure. Let's be peaceful, faced with rolling eyes. My lawyer, the bulldog, wasn't having it. He made it clear that I had every right to pursue fault-based grounds due to infidelity, which could impact the settlement. He also reminded her team that we had receipts, literally and figuratively. Then came her first counteroffer. She wanted to keep the house I paid for, that her name was not even on. She said it would be too disruptive to move. and that she felt connected to the space. Space. Of course. Because everything has to be metaphorical with her. Her reasoning? I've already lost enough. I shouldn't have to lose my home too. I told my lawyer to respond with a single sentence. Actions have consequences. She then tried the guilt route. Sent a long message via her attorney. Essentially a love letter disguised as a legal memo. Valentina wishes to express that she still values what you had together and hopes that despite the pain, you'll always hold a place in your heart for her. Look, I'm not a monster. I did once love this woman. I built a life with her. But at this point, it felt like she wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the version of me she could control. The dependable, quiet, supportive man who didn't demand the truth. That guy was gone. The new guy was done being lied to. We pushed for a clean split. She fought us every step of the way. Stalling documents, forgetting to submit her financials, and at one point claiming Leo had pressured her into things she regretted deeply. Funny how that only came up after Leo's wife filed for divorce and the ESA suspended him. Oh yeah, that happened. Turns out they don't take kindly to scandal, even in space. By month 3, Valentina had started spiraling publicly. She posted an Instagram reel of her staring out a window with Coldplay playing in the background, writing, "Sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones where you lose everything, just to rediscover who you are." She tagged me again. I blocked her again. Final court date? April 9th. Judge looked through the file, side-eyed Valentina's weak explanations, and granted me full ownership of the house, denied her spousal support, and confirmed infidelity as grounds. She didn't look at me once. Not during the ruling. Not even after. Outside the courthouse, she stood alone. No friends. No family. Just her phone in hand. Probably queuing up a TikTok about toxic masculinity or something. Me? I went home. Cooked midnight pancakes. Slept like a baby. So yeah, divorce finalized. House in my name. Freedom papers signed, sealed, and stamped. I expected to feel triumphant. I imagined I'd pop champagne or get blackout drunk with my buddies. Instead, I felt empty. Not sad. Not angry. Just this weird, echoing silence. Like after a loud concert, when the music stops but your ears still ring. I had spent so long being Valentina's support system, her safety net, her mechanic, her emotional backboard, that once I was free, I had no idea what to do with all that space in my life. So I started with small things. I repainted the house, got rid of every silver or space-themed decoration she left behind, replaced her weird minimalist chairs with a big, obnoxiously comfortable couch, adopted a dog, a big, floppy mutt named Cosmo. Yeah, ironic, but he's a good boy. For the first time in years, I felt like the main character in my own story. And just as I was beginning to build my own rhythm again, Leo resurfaced. I swear this guy has the self-awareness of a meteor. It started with a voicemail. Blocked number. I thought it might be a work call, so I picked up the transcript later. "Hey, this is Leo. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need you to know it wasn't what it looked like. Valentina made it sound like you guys were already done. She said, look, it doesn't matter. I lost everything too. Oh no, poor Leo. He cheated on his wife and lost his job and now wants sympathy? But wait, there's more. He said he was trying to get into a private aerospace company and that his reputation had taken a hit. He wanted to clear the air and maybe talk man to man. Man to man. I didn't even respond. Instead, I forwarded the voicemail to Eva, his actual wife, and said, "Still think it was an honest mistake?" She replied with a crying laugh emoji and the words, "He's lucky you're not petty. I would have posted this online. And for the record, I'm not petty. But I am done being the bigger man for people who step on my spine like it's a launch ramp." Leo faded into the background after that. I guess even narcissists run out of fuel eventually. As for Valentina, word got around she wasn't accepted into the next ESA program. Apparently, they were rethinking her candidacy. She still makes dramatic, inspirational posts and quotes Carl Sagan in her captions. But the followers are thinning. The magic's wearing off. Meanwhile, I'm just living. Quietly. Fully. I started writing again. Something I hadn't done since college. I even joined a local hiking group, made some new friends, and, yes, kept messaging Harper occasionally. No pressure, no rebound. Just connection. Real, honest, grounded connection. Turns out, You don't need to leave Earth to feel like you're flying. All right. So life was starting to feel like something normal, if a little quiet, and I was actually okay with that. Then, out of the blue, I ran into Marta. Marta was Valentina's childhood friend. The kind of friend who knows all your secrets, but never tells, until she decides to. We bumped into each other at a local coffee shop. She was with her kid, and I was there trying to write on my laptop, but mostly just staring out the window, thinking about, well, everything. She sat down without asking. I wasn't sure if it was an invitation or a confrontation. Turns out, it was a bit of both. After some small talk, she dropped a bomb. Leo and Valentina, they never really loved each other. It was all smoke and mirrors. But Valentina? She was terrified of the village, of being small. She wanted to be a star, literally and figuratively. Marta spilled some dirt that I didn't know. Apparently, Valentina's dad, the tractor driver, was fiercely proud but also deeply disappointed. He didn't believe she'd ever make it into the aerospace world. He thought she was chasing fairy dust and wasting her life. That pressure, Marta said, crushed Valentina. And when Leo showed up with promises of the space life, Valentina grabbed at it like it was a lifeline. Then Marta handed me something I wasn't expecting, an old letter Valentina wrote but never sent. It was addressed to me, in her neat handwriting, tucked inside an envelope with my name on it, never mailed. I read it in the cafe bathroom stall, hands shaking. Here's the gist. Leo, if you're reading this, it means I never had the courage to say these things out loud. I'm sorry for all the lies. For running away from who I am and who I hurt along the way. The dreams I chased, they weren't always mine. Sometimes, they were just what I thought I had to want to be loved. I know I broke you. But maybe one day, you'll forgive me, not for me, but for yourself. Because you deserve that much. Reading that, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I was just human. Marta asked if I wanted to talk to Valentina again. I said no. Some stories don't need second acts. Some wounds heal better when left alone. That night, Cosmo curled up next to me. And for the first time in a long time, I slept without nightmares. All right, so after reading that letter, I thought I'd finally close the chapter on Valentina. But life, as usual, had other plans. A few days later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was from Valentina's sister, Nina. She said, I don't know if you ever got the full story. Valentina didn't tell you everything. There are things you deserve to know, things that change everything. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a quiet park bench, away from prying eyes and caffeine-fueled gossip. Nina's voice was shaky. She spilled a truth I never saw coming. Valentina had been dealing with serious pressure from both her family and Leo's circle, secret debts, emotional blackmail, and even threats that could have derailed her career forever. Apparently, the affair with Leo wasn't just about passion or escape. It was a desperate, chaotic attempt to keep afloat in a storm I never knew was raging. She'd been lying, yes, but maybe not because she was heartless, but because she was scared. Scared of losing everything she worked for, scared of disappointing her father, scared of losing me too. Nina said Valentina regretted the lies more than anything. That she wanted to confess everything to me, but didn't know how without breaking us both. I sat there, stunned. The neat, black and white story I told myself was suddenly a tangle of gray. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying all the moments. The lies, the fights, the silences, now tinged with new questions. How much of betrayal is born from fear? How much of forgiveness requires understanding the pain behind the pain? I realized healing wasn't just about cutting ties and moving on. It was about facing the messy, uncomfortable truths that lurk beneath the surface. So what did I do next? I texted Nina back. Thanks for telling me. I need time. But maybe someday. I want to talk to Valentina. Not for her. For me. And just like that, the past wasn't done with me yet. After my conversation with Nina, I spent days wrestling with my thoughts. Part of me wanted to slam the door shut and walk away forever. But another part, the part that still cared, still loved, wanted to understand everything. So, I reached out to Valentina. She agreed to meet at the park where we first met. I wasn't sure what to expect. Would she be defensive? Apologetic? Cold? When she showed up, I barely recognized her. The confident, bitchy woman who'd lied and manipulated was gone. In her place was someone fragile. eyes red-rimmed, voice barely above a whisper. We sat down, no scripts, no lawyers, no shields. She started talking, not the rehearsed stories or half-truths, but the real stuff. The crushing pressure of expectations from her father, the crushing guilt for hurting me, the fear that she'd never be enough unless she chased impossible dreams. She admitted the affair wasn't just about Leo. It was about her spiraling, about feeling lost in a world too big for her to handle. I told her how betrayed and broken I felt, how her lies shattered the foundation of our marriage. She cried. I cried. For the first time, we weren't enemies. We were two broken people trying to make sense of a mess neither of us wanted. But I made it clear. Trust once broken is damn hard to rebuild. And some things, like the life we had, were gone forever. We agreed to part ways, not with hatred, but with a mutual understanding that some dreams die and some people grow apart. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the first step toward healing. So, after that raw, painful conversation with Valentina, I thought the hardest part was over. But healing? Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The first few weeks after our final goodbye were brutal. Sleepless nights, waking up to empty spaces where dreams once lived. I questioned everything, my judgment, my worth, even the reality I'd built around us. But slowly, things started to shift. I leaned into my friends more. Real, honest people who didn't sugarcoat or judge. I threw myself into work, not to escape, but to rebuild. Cosmo became my shadow and my therapist all in one. Always ready to listen with wagging tail and unconditional love. I started journaling again, letting the words pour out without filters. And here's the thing about pain. It does teach you things. I learned that love isn't just about passion or dreams. It's about honesty, respect, and the courage to face the ugly stuff together. I learned that sometimes people lie not because they're evil, but because they're terrified. I learned that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not necessarily the other person. And most importantly, I learned that your worth isn't defined by someone else's choices or betrayals. I'm not the same man I was before Valentina. I'm better, wiser, stronger. And while the scars remain, they remind me of the journey, not the pain, but the growth. All right, here's the wrap-up. The stuff I wish I'd known before this whole nightmare began, and what I want to tell anyone stuck in a similar mess. Trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. I did, for way too long, because I wanted to believe in the us I imagined. People lie. Some lie to protect themselves, some to control you, some out of fear. But lies are a poison to any relationship. Call them out early, or be ready for the fallout. You can't fix someone who isn't willing to be fixed. Valentina's dreams and demons were bigger than both of us. I learned that love alone isn't enough. It's okay to walk away. Ending something you once loved doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it means you're brave enough to choose yourself. Healing takes time, and that's normal. Don't rush it. Let yourself feel the pain, the anger, the sadness. Then let it go. Rebuild your life with people who respect and uplift you. I found that in friends, my dog, and new passions. You deserve that. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself. I don't hate Valentina, and I don't think she's a villain. She's human, flawed, and so am I. Keep dreaming, but stay grounded. Valentina reached for the stars, but forgot her roots. I'm learning to aim high while keeping my feet firmly on the ground. So yeah, that's my story. How my childhood dreams of love and space crashed and burned, and how I'm still here, picking up the pieces, shooting for new stars. If you're in a similar spot, know you're not alone. It sucks. It hurts. But there's life after betrayal. Keep your head up, listen to your heart, and don't settle for less than you deserve. Thanks for reading, Reddit. I needed to get this off my chest. And if you made it this far, you're stronger than you think. A guy who learned the hard way, but is still flying rocket.